Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Political Ray. We've got some stories for you, but quick heads up, I am live here every morning, 7:30 Eastern Time, just ahead of the Rumble lineup. So tune in, follow me, hit that like button, you know, whatever you want to do. But anyway, let's get into this. We've got some more tariff news with China. China retaliating against the reciprocal tariffs that President Trump has put in place. We've got some countries that have come to the table as far as negotiating these tariffs. We've got others that have, said we are not going to play games. We're just going to play ball and do, because they understand that the U.S. is a major part in the U.S. world economy. Anyway, we've got that. We got Jasmine Crockett coming out talking about how she wants modern day slavery. Just my take on what she said, but we'll get into that too. Talk a little bit about the Bill Burr thing. I think the guy's a wuss, to put it mildly, and pretty much switches. We all saw his stuff that he come out and said, and now he's changing his stance. It's flying around the internet. It might be a day or two old, but I'm going to cover that a little bit here as well. And we've got more stuff on Tesla. Another charging station was attacked, was firebombed. We'll get into that a little bit. And Trump is going to start fining illegal aliens that are here within the United States who do not self deport. How he enforces this, I don't know. Maybe you can tell me. I'm not sure how you would enforce this other than maybe taking assets from these people, vehicles, possessions, what have you. Maybe try and recoup some of the $150 billion a year that it takes to house and fund these people that are here illegally, taking advantage of the U.S. system and living off of the taxpayer dollar. But we'll get into that too. And we got some some wild news coming out. But we'll get into this. Let me go ahead and we'll get my camera down here and we'll get straight into the tariffs here. Now, this is some of the tariff response that we have from some of the countries, and we've got trying to negotiate, including Japan, South Korea, UK, Switzerland, uh, looks like Malaysia, Singapore, Brazil, Colombia, Turkey, and Australia offered concessions. People who are saying, "Look, we're okay," blah blah blah. Vietnam, India, Thailand, Israel, Indonesia, and you got retaliated, China and Canada. Tell me why Canada? Just because it's President Trump? Is that why? Because that's the only thing I can think of. Canada is a silly place. They live. Look, for one thing, Canada lives off of the U.S. subsidies. There's a reason why they don't have to have a giant military, because they know that the U.S. is going to back them up in a conflict, and there's a reason why they have free health care for their citizens, because we pay for it. The American taxpayer dollars pays for Canada to have free health care. And for them to come out and say, look, we're not going to go along with this is BS. Why not just negotiate? Tell me why. Anyway, possible retaliation is the European Union, and absolutely no retaliation looks like Mexico. But we'll see. I mean, again, I wonder why, especially Canada. Why? Why not play ball and just, you know, whatever? But anyway, we've got from Nick Sorter on X. Now, I like this kid, but President Trump's 104% tariffs on China have officially taken effect. Hold the line. We will win this. Look, I'm all for putting China into place because they're taking advantage of the U.S. And keep in mind, the U.S. is the number one consumer in the world. Nobody spends like the U.S. does. That's just, and President Trump now he's got this whole thing. If you shop off of Temu, Shein, these other Chinese based companies that ship into the U.S., he's made it to where it used to be, I think it was $600 or $800, that if you shipped a dollar amount less than that into the U.S., you weren't subject to tariffs. President Trump's changing that, and I think that these companies are probably going to go under. So if you want to get some stuff off of Shein or Temu, you better do it now, because I don't think that this is going to last much longer. And I'm fine with it. Anyway, Let's see what China has actually said. This is a post that President Trump has put out on his Truth Social yesterday. China issued retaliatory tariffs of 34% on top of their already record-setting tariffs. Now, keep in mind, according to the chart that we were shown, China was charging the U.S. a tariff of 90-something percent. I want to say it was 96%. I know it was in the 90s. And President Trump, now when you say reciprocal tariff, okay, to me, that when you say reciprocal, I think whatever they charge us, we're going to charge them. That's not even what Trump did. The reciprocal tariff that he put onto China was 34%. Huge. It's still a huge, like, not even close to what they're charging us. Not even close. But they're still going to get mad about it. And now they're going to raise their tariffs on us. So President Trump is not having this. And I'm fine with it. I am. I'm okay with it. Anyway. Let's see, where was I? Non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation, despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by issuing additional tariffs above and beyond their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with a new and substantially higher tariffs, over and above those initially set. Therefore, if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, the 8th, which meaning yesterday, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50% effective April 9th. That's today. He said that this was going to happen as far as midnight. So that means that these tariffs are in place as of right now. And again, I'm fine with it. China has been taking advantage of the U.S. for far too long. There's all kinds of rumors that they own farmland. Wouldn't surprise me, but I don't have any proof to say that they do. But it wouldn't surprise me if they did. Why are we even letting them own land in the United States if that's the fact? But anyway, I digress. Let's see. All talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries, which have also requested meetings, will be taking place immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Let's see. So, again, I'm fine with it. Let's see what else we got here. I mean, look, as I said before, I'm fine with it. We've been taken advantage by China for far, far too long. Okay. There's no reason why a reciprocal tariff, especially one that's hugely discounted from what they're already charging us, is insane. A lot of the products, maybe not most, but a lot of the products that we have in the United States come from cheap labor within China. That's why a lot of the manufacturing jobs that used to be here in the States are now in China, also in Mexico. Now, Mexico's come out and they said they're not going to have a retaliatory tariff. They're just going to, I guess, maybe play ball. Maybe we'll see. Far too long we've been taken advantage by China. I'm okay with this. Again, I'll just stress it one more time. There's no reason why this shouldn't be okay. But anyway, we'll go ahead and just from there. Now we'll see what happens with this. As far as I understand it, it's supposed to take place, at midnight this morning. So I haven't seen anything definite on it as far as it actually taking place, but we'll see. We'll see what happens throughout the day. And, y'all let me know if you see anything before me. This should be interesting. Again, there's no reason why we should just continue to let China take advantage of us. And a lot of the left-leaning, the Democrats, they do not like this tariff crap. Because why? Because I'm going to go ahead and guess that most of them are probably getting kickbacks from the CCP. That's just a guess. That's what I think. I could be wrong. I also could be right. That's just what I think. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to Jasmine Crockett here. Jasmine Crockett just can't. Everything she comes out and says is just, it amazes me even more. just take a look at this clip because this is insane to me. This is her talking about illegals in our country, talking about who's going to pick our cotton, who's going to pick our crops, blah, 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 blah. It boggles my mind, the left talking points. To me, this seems like she's coming out and just saying, look, we need slave labor. That's what it sounds like to me. She says that black people aren't going to pick the cotton anymore. Well, I think the majority of the cotton that is so-called quote unquote picked, it's not actually picked by people anymore. People have these giant combines that they use. I know a lot of farmers. I grew up on a farm. Well, not grew up. My teen years were spent with, a farmer, and people don't just pick crops anymore. They use machines to get this. It's quicker, it's faster. They can get more crops done, that kind of stuff. People don't have, human people out picking these things anymore. That's just the point I'm trying to make. I know I have a hard time articulating some things, but my point being is that this sounds like she wants just slave labor, and she's okay with it because they're illegal aliens, and they'll take the jobs that Americans don't want. But again, combines do these jobs nowadays for the most part. I'm not saying that there's nobody out there in the cotton fields picking cotton anymore, because there probably is. I can't say with absolutity that it's all done by combines. I can't say that for sure. I don't know. But the vast majority of this stuff is done by machines nowadays, and there's nobody in the fields picking cotton. That being said, take a look at the clip.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
First of all, let me go ahead and just educate you there, Jasmine. We are not a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of settlers. And there is a massive, massive big difference between the two. Settlers who came to this country and gave up everything to come to this country to flee persecution, came here for a better life, but there was no guarantee for it. The difference between then and now is the illegal immigrants flooding our country get all kinds of government benefits. They get housing, they get, EBT, they get their food paid for. In a lot of cases, their rent's paid for. And then they still go out and get jobs, and they've got entire families living in their household, still living off of the American taxpayer dollar. There's a huge difference between the settlers that came to this country and founded it and the immigrants of today. Huge difference. Let me know your thoughts.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands.
I believe she is lying. That's just my opinion, again. But I think she is lying. I think she's doing this for clicks. I think she's doing this to grandstand. And her argument as far as trying to keep the illegals within the United States is based on false premises. And I think she's just talking out her butt. But that's just me.
You're not. We done picking cotton.
Yep, we are. As a nation as a whole, we are done actually picking cotton as people going into a field and picking the cotton themselves. Again, the majority of this is done by heavy equipment. Combines actually harvest the cotton, and that's it. Again, I won't say that this is every single, cotton farmer. I'm not saying that it is. I'm sure there's people out there that still just go out there and do it themselves, who maybe can't afford a combine because they're not cheap. But the vast majority, people with huge cotton farms, they're doing it with a combine because it's quicker. They can harvest all their fields within a day or two versus picking the cotton and having to hire a crap ton of people to do it, in a week or two. A lot faster. It's easier. I'd imagine it's cheaper once the combine is actually paid for, but I digress.
We are You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's right.
So I had to
So-
go around.
She is, look, you can let me know what you think about this clip, but that, to me, that's her screaming that she wants slave labor. She wants the illegals to stay in this country, to pick cotton, to go out into the farms and do slave labor. Yeah, sure, they'll still get paid, but not at a wage that's livable. Look, I'm just saying one more time. This is just her advocating for slave labor. That's what I take from this. You can let me know what you think. But that's how I feel about it. That's how I took it. And I think she's a piece of crap. I think she grifts. I think she just grandstands and spews the left-wing talking points. A lot of people like her because they buy into the lies, because all they do is watch CNN and MSNBC and CBS and all that stuff. They don't. But the younger people, I said this yesterday, the younger people are tuning into the alternative media, Tim Pool's, Crowder, online commentators who actually do research and look into things. And I encourage everybody to look into everything. If you've got a doubt about something, look into it, because more often than not, these people are lying. It's a sad truth about the matter. Most of the time, these people are just talking out their butt and they're not saying anything factual. Anyway, we'll take a look at this. This is wild. Now, I talked yesterday about Elon Musk. There's talks about him actually he's going to start investigating people of Congress. Pelosi being the main one who has benefited from being in office for so frickin' long that she's worth over $200 million. Crockett's no exception. She hasn't been in office that long, but she does happen to have, 3 different houses. She's got a net worth of $9 million bucks. And her salary is only $174,000 per year. Look, she's got a $2 million townhouse, a $1.5 million loft, and a $1.5 million lakefront cabin. Tell me how you afford that on a salary of $174,000 a year. Now, I get it. I said it yesterday. You can tell me till you're blue in the face that these people they've got donations, they've got lobbyists, blah, 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 blah. Okay. It still doesn't account for her. Look, how long has she been in office? 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms? I'm not sure. It hasn't been that long. How did she accrue a net worth of $9 million and have $2, $3, $4, $5 million in assets in houses, in a townhouse, loft? How is this possible? I'd like to know if these are paid for, if she's still paying on them. I'd like to know that, the houses, her real estate that she has acquired through the years of her short terms of being within Congress. I'd like to know if she's still paying on them, if they're actually paid off. I'd like to know that. My guess is they're paid off. That's just a guess. I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that. But that would be what I would expect from this. Anyway, it's just wild. These people, don't trust anything that they say. Look it up. I'm not saying they lie about everything. There's probably a lot of stuff that they talk about that's factual. But I'm telling you, from experience, the majority of the stuff that they're talking about is just lies. They're talking out their butt for clicks. Maybe she's making a run. Maybe she's, because we see her a lot nowadays. Maybe she's actually trying to make a bid for the presidency. I don't know. A lot of talk about her and AOC being on the tickets for the Democrat side. A lot of people think AOC's the leader of the Democratic Party, which is kind of sad in a way. She's only got 10% of, the backing from the Democratic Party. 10% approval from the Democratic Party is AOC, and she's the highest one at 10%. That is sad. There's civil strife within the Democratic Party. There's no clear leader. On the right, you can say absolutely 100% without a doubt that President Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. Doesn't mean that he doesn't get pushback from that party, what have you, but it's clear as day that he is the leader of the Republican Party. The Democrats, they don't have that. They don't have a clear leader. They don't know who it is. There's civil strife within this party. because they can't agree on anything. They can't. I mean, half of them want to go back against the whole LGBTQ plus AIP, but they can't. They can't. They can't disrupt their base. They just can't do it. But that's fine, because the more they push that crap, this is one of the major reasons why Kamala lost during the election, because it's a 80-20 issue. And the Democrats keep rolling with it, which, again, I'm fine with. They keep coming out with these losing issues. They keep talking about them. They're never going to win again. They won't. Now, I'm still worried about the midterms. We have to show up for the midterms. Because if we don't, you're only going to get 2 years of President Trump and the agenda that he's trying to get through. Because if we lose the midterms, we've only got a slim majority as it is now. If we lose the midterms, all bets are off. We're not going to get anything done. Nothing. That's why I think President Trump needs to come in now and get stuff done. Throw everything at the table. Throw everything onto the table. Get stuff done. Face the backlash, what have you. Then come midterms. Hopefully things have worked out the way that they're supposed to. President Trump can run on and say, look what I've done. Yes, there was blowback. Yes, we went through some hard times. But look at how well we're doing now. It has to happen now. He's got to get it done now. Because if he doesn't, I really fear for the midterms and us not having the advantage in the House and Congress anymore. That's just the plain and simple truth of the matter. People vote on what is happening in the here and now. People have short-term memories as far as politics are concerned. Got to get it done now. That way, when midterms come up, we've got the momentum, and we can hopefully keep the House and the Senate. But it's got to happen now. President Trump has to get it done now. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to Bill Burr. This guy's wild, man. Look, I don't know if anybody's been following this guy. Look, I'll say off in the onset here, I think Bill Burr's funny. I think he's had a lot of good stand-ups. I think he's had a lot of good specials. I think the guy is pretty funny. That being said, I don't see how you could just flip on a dime, because a lot of people have seen all the clips. They've been flying around X, the internet, they've been everywhere. Everybody's seen this guy coming out advocating for the Luigi guy, who in my opinion, I still don't believe that he's the guy, but we all know about that story, him killing the CEO. And Bill Burr's out there screaming free Luigi, and then talking about politics and telling us we need to bring down the temperature, which I agree with. He was on The View and said that we need to bring down the temperature. It's something I agree with. But a lot of it is coming from the left. But again, these Democratic leaders, they're not coming out and condemning all this violence. They're just going along with it. It's the same with 2020, when they were actually advocating for people to continue to be violent. Kamala Harris advocated for a relief fund to get people out of jail, to post for their bail. They want the violence. But this guy flipped as soon as an actual reporter actually questioned him on this, because he didn't get no blowback from, the late night show and The View, and he spewed the left-wing talking points and nobody bucked him on it because he was saying what they wanted to hear. But now that a couple of journalists at this, I don't know what this was. It was something for Conan, I guess. But a couple of journalists actually asked him about it, and he just totally was like, "Oh, I don't do politics," and blah blah blah. He's a liar. He's a coward. And I'll tell you right now. Again, I think Bill Burr's funny. He's got a lot of good specials, what have you. I think the guy's funny. But he's a coward. He's got no spine. And then he comes out and says that the media has no balls. He just backtracked on what look, come out and say, look, I said what I said. I don't want to talk about that here. I'm here for Conan. He says this, but why not just come out and say, look, I don't want to talk about that. I'm going to stand by what I said, but I'm here for Conan. I don't want to talk about that right now. That would have been fine. But he's got to go on a rant and talk about how the media has no balls and blah, blah, blah. It's just check it. It's crazy. This guy is an idiot. He's a coward. He himself has no balls. But take a look. You'll see what I'm saying.
Tell us about your reaction to Luigi Mangione. I was reading up, that perhaps you've been supportive of what he did. What is your take on that?
If you were reading up, I don't think you read up on it. Because I said what I felt about it, and I said what a lot of people said.
Took it.
He said, a lot of people said, yes, a lot of people said, free Luigi. But he doesn't have an actual opinion on it. This right here tells me he doesn't have an actual opinion. He's just going along what he's seeing on the internet. And watch what he says here. When he says, I don't watch politics. He's a liar. He had to have watched some kind of politics to have the opinion that he did. When he went on a late night show, he was on a podcast. He was on some sneaker thing. He was on The View. The guy made the rounds, spewing left-wing talking points. I think because he doesn't want to fall out of the good graces of Hollywood. Hollywood is corrupt. They're left-wing corruption. I mean, look at all the starlets and the stars and Hollywood actors and actresses that came out in support of Kamala Harris. That tells me that the Hollywood corrupt elites are just as bad as the Democrats because they spew the same talking points. You can let me know. Anyway, let's keep going.
That way. So could you clarify what you think?
No, I'm not going to just have some controversial moments so you can get clicks. I'm not doing that.
That is exactly what he did. He came out on these shows, made controversial talking points. What do you think screaming free Luigi on 3 different occasions does? It creates controversy. It creates clicks. What do you think you did there, Bill? You did the same thing that you're accusing them of doing. This is a left-wing tactic, if I ever saw one. They accuse you of doing exactly what they're doing. Rules for thee, but not for me. It all falls into the left-wing talking points, the left-wing agenda, the left-wing playbook, as it were. This is what they do. Anyway.
I'm here for Conan. I'm not doing all of this. What are you going to bring up?
That's fine. Look, I don't have a problem with that. One more time. If the guy came out and said, I'm not here for that, I stand by my statements, but I don't want to talk about that right now. I'm here for Conan. Fine. Have a spine, Bill. Stand by your statements. Say, I don't want to talk about it right now. Maybe he can talk about it later. But right now, he's there for Conan. I'd be fine with that. I'd be okay. I'd be like, look, I don't agree with the guy. I think he's just spewing left-wing talking points. But at least if he stood by his convictions, I'd be like, okay, I don't like the guy. I don't agree with him. But at least he stands by his convictions. It's not what he does. He tries to flip it and say that it's the reporter's fault, the journalist's fault. This guy's crazy.
Next, the Middle East. I went to summer school 3 out of 4 years in high school. I'm not qualified to talk about this.
I'm not qualified to talk about it. Then why are you talking about it? The late night show, The View, the sneaker thing, the podcast. Why are you talking about this stuff if you're not qualified to talk about it? The guy doesn't make any sense. He's got no spine. He's a coward.
I was just.
What do you think about global warming?
You said about Elon that he was ruining Earth. I saw on The View. You're critical of him. What do you think of all the boycotts, like even the violence?
I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news.
Liar.
I have no idea what's going on.
He is a liar. Everybody watches the news, especially nowadays. Everybody is in tune to what is going on around them. It still boggles my mind that some people are oblivious to everything. But hey, yeah, I guess not everybody watches the news. But you think the guy who came out on several different shows, late night, The View, podcasts, everything else, you think that he's not watching the news? You think he's not keeping up with it? He's a liar, and he's got no spine. And what he tries to turn it on this journalist here, telling him that he's got no balls, when in fact that it's just him that doesn't. Again, rules for thee, but not for me. Accuse you of what I'm doing. That's the left wing. That's what they do. He's just like him. And it's my opinion that this guy just doesn't want to be ousted from Hollywood. I could be wrong. You let me know what you think. But I think this guy just doesn't want to be ousted. He wants to stay in their good graces. So he's trying to pivot everything. But anyway.
I watch Instagram. I watch people wipe out on motorcycles. I watch lions and hyenas fight each other. This is the things that I do. And I don't think you should be asking a comedian. You're a journalist.
Comedians are on top of...
I don't think you should be asking a comedian. I don't think, if you don't want to talk about this stuff, you shouldn't be spewing the points that you were. If you don't want to be questioned about this, if you don't want to talk about it, then don't talk about it on late night shows and The View and podcasts. It's as simple as that. If you don't want to talk about these issues, then don't talk about them. It's as simple as that. It's pretty easy. I complain about this stuff into a camera every morning, but that's because I want to talk about it. I want to have discussions. This guy doesn't want to have a discussion. He wants to spew left-wing talking points. And then when he gets questioned about it, he wants to pivot and accuse people of doing what he's doing.
Current events.
No. That's weak. That's you guys passing the buck. Ugh. You guys need to have balls again, which you don't. You guys always goes, should we be thinking this? Duh. You guys present stuff like that. You guys used to have balls. You need to get your balls back. And it's not my job. I am a dancing clown.
I am a dancing... Tell me what sense this makes, other than the fact that just accusing you of doing what I'm doing. That's what I take from this. The guy has no spine. If he did, he would have said, look, I stand by my statements, but I don't want to talk about it right now. That's all he had to say. You let me know. You comment below. You let me know what you think about this guy, because I think he's a jerk off. I think he's a clown. He's got no spine. I think he's a coward. But anyway, that's what I think. And it's people like him. I mean, the Free Luigi crap. It's people like him. As you got stories like this one. Okay, let me get this one up. And oh wait, that's the one. Okay, from the New York Post. People like Bill Burr, who are in the public spotlight, saying Free Luigi and everything else. You've got people like him who are advocating for this kind of stuff. Now, he may not be outright saying it, but what do you think people are going to think when you scream Free Luigi on 3 separate occasions? Maybe it was 2, but I think it was 3. What do you think people are going to take from that? Look at this from the New York Post. Democrats lit the assassination culture fuse. Now there's...
Attention, supermarket.
Get rid of that. Anyway, Democrats lit the assassination culture fuse. Now their silence equals violence. When you've got people in the public eye, like Bill Burr, you got the mainstream media, Jasmine Crockett, who don't come out and condemn this type of behavior, the violence against Tesla owners, the violent rhetoric against Trump and Elon, when you've got people in the public eye who do not come out and condemn people, they don't condemn this kind of crap, it's going to escalate. It's going to get worse. I think personally we're pretty much in a civil war at this point. You can say otherwise, but the violence against just people who own Teslas, it's wild to me. And a lot of these Tesla owners, they're Democrats who bought their electric vehicle when the Democrats were in office pushing the EV mandates. But I digress. Take a look at this article from the New York Post. Look, how much longer will Democrats accept their supporters' escalating calls for violence? That's the I couldn't have said it better myself. How much longer? I have been saying for weeks now, the Democrats need to condemn this behavior, because if they don't come out and condemn this kind of crap, it's going to escalate. It's going to continue to get worse. And it has been. People have, look, there was a guy that cut off a Tesla owner, an older 60-something-year-old woman. Cut her off, jumped out of his car, and started punching her through her window because she was driving a Tesla. How much longer before somebody ends up dead over this crap? Are you going to condemn it them? You gonna condemn it after somebody dies? Democrats, I'm talking to you. Anyway, the weekend hands-off protests were wholly expected. President Trump riles up the left like few can. I agree with that. Let's see. During his first term, blah, 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 pink hats, blah, blah, blah. In New York, a man dressed up as Luigi of Super Mario Bros. To honor Luigi Mangione, the murderer of healthcare executive Brian Thompson. Again, one more time, I'm not convinced that this is the guy. That's just what I think. I don't think that they match up. I mean, there's different reasons for it, but I don't think this is the guy. Anyway, he carried a sign calling for Trump to be deposed. That is violently overthrown. In Holland, Michigan, Redmond, Oregon, and elsewhere, grinning marchers wore T-shirts and carried placards with the number 8647, pairing the old slang term for murder with the 47 for Trump. That's because he's the 47th president, 86. You get it. Let's see. Hands off or heads off. Read the message of a life-sized guillotine in Denver. Again, where are the Democrats condemning this type of behavior? Again, until they come out and condemn this type of behavior, it's going to escalate. It's going to get worse. It's not just property either. Over the weekend, a man was arrested in Portland after he used a laser to attempt to blind a Tesla employee. Look, you can say all you want that, look, it's just a laser. What does that hurt? Those can blind people. The guy had a green laser. He was intentionally trying to shine it into Tesla employees' eyeballs in order to blind them. A leftist protester who blocked traffic at a hands-off rally in Lafayette headbutted a driver who confronted him, blooding the driver's nose. On Thursday, conservative students hosting a speaker at the University of California, UC Davis, I covered this one, were targeted by masked assailants who tore up literature and wrecked tents at tables. Why didn't they say Antifa? It was Antifa. It was Antifa who attacked a Turning Point USA table. It was the officer Tatum. Brandon Tatum was there. They physically assaulted people and stole property and destroyed property. It was Antifa. And the police did nothing. They slowly walked behind them as they left with stolen property. Nothing happened. Where's the left condemning this behavior? I'm going to say it 100 times. Look at this picture. Teslas, people's personal property, being destroyed. For a lot of people, that's their only vehicle. It's how they get to work. They pay for that car still. They don't care. They don't. The Democrats don't care. The left-wing rioters don't care. Anyway, the same day in Harlem, an angry leftist punched a pro-life activist in the face while she was conducting a live interview. She was left bloodied and needed stitches. I covered that as well. A new report from the network Contagion Research Institute found that more than half of left-leaning Americans say political violence is acceptable, with 55% of them seeing more justification for assassinating Trump. This is where we're at. As a country, you got more than half of the liberal left thinking that it's acceptable for violence against the President of the United States. This is where we're at as a country. If you don't think that we're in some kind of civil strife or civil war, I don't know what to tell you. This over half of the left base thinks that violence against the President of the United States is acceptable. It's wild. It certainly feels like a powder keg as violence is excused and celebrated online as never before. Yeah. People are praising this Luigi guy. Again, I don't think that he's the guy that did it, but that's just my opinion. I don't see the proof. Let's see. I first saw my inkling of this trend on my Facebook feed soon after November's election. Political memes and posts with increasingly savage imagery and language. Yeah, you got posts all over X of violent depictions of things happening with President Trump. I mean, look at what was that female comedian that during the first Trump term, she held up a head depicting President Trump. It's crap like that. I mean, and the fact that they don't get in trouble for this stuff is why this is happening. Consequences for actions. Something that I have advocated for a long time at this point. Until people have consequences for their actions, they're going to keep doing whatever they want because there's no repercussions. Anyway, let's see what else we got. Fantasizing about killing Trump just after 2 attempts were made on his life is perfectly acceptable on the platform that once banned people for questioning whether masks was effective against COVID. That's a good point. I'm not a fan of the New York Post, but they make a lot of good points in this article. Just saying. When are the Democrats, how much is too much? When are they going to start saying, condemning this stuff? I'm going to say it 100 times. Until they actually condemn this type of behavior, it's going to escalate. It's going to keep going. They got to come out and say, look, this is not acceptable. People who commit acts of violence against other citizens, people who have death threats against the President of the United States, there's going to be consequences for your actions. Where are you at, Democrats? Anyway, take a look at this one. Talking about the same thing. This is in Lacey, Washington, just outside of Seattle, if I'm correct. And this is another Tesla's charging station that was firebombed. This is from the Seattle Tribune. Lacey police investigate damaged Tesla charging station. Again, it's acts of violence. Again, I'll say it one more time. If you don't think that we're in some kind of civil strife, call it a soft civil war, whatever. I think it's hard. I don't know what to tell you. I seriously think that we're in the midst of it at the very least. Local and federal police are investigating after someone damaged a Tesla electric vehicle charging station in a shopping mall parking lot in Lacey overnight Tuesday. FBI investigators are gathering the evidence they need to figure out exactly what happened, said Steve Burr, a spokesperson for Seattle's FBI office. I don't think we know yet. Well, obviously. Multiple people called 911 to report hearing a loud noise near the Target at South Sound Center off of Sleater Kinney Road, southeast of and Pacific Avenue. Shortly after 1:30 a.m., the Lacey Police Department wrote on X. This is wild. Okay, look, I condemn this type of behavior. I don't care who's doing it. Violence is not the answer. That's just how I feel about it. This kind of crap has to stop. Anyway, we'll take a look at the police. This is a statement that the police put out on X, I believe it was. And they say, this morning at 1:34, officers were dispatched to malicious mischief after receiving multiple calls reporting a loud noise in the Sleater Kinney area. Officers arrived at Target at 665 Sleater Kinney Road, southeast, and discovered that the electric vehicle charging station had been damaged. LPD detectives are investigating and coordinating with our federal partners. If you have any information, please contact the FBI Seattle there's the phone number. So, again, until the left comes out and condemns this kind of behavior, it's gonna keep happening. The left is fine with it. They don't care. They don't care about their constituents. They don't care about public safety. This is a prime example of it. If you don't believe that the left, if you actually think that the left cares about its constituents, just take a look at this. How much longer is it going to take? Look, people are coming up to Tesla's personal vehicles and creating the woman who got physically attacked who got forced to the side of the road and was physically attacked by a man being punched in the face. Her and her friends they're taking gun safety courses now. How long is it going to be now before one of these people pulls, gets into a confrontation with the wrong person who's carrying a gun? How much longer is it going to take before somebody actually dies over this BS? I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be much longer. People are seeing this crap. They're not stopping the vandalism, the personal assaults, the damage to charging stations and dealerships. It's not going to take much longer before somebody ends up dead over this crap. Anyway, let's see. We got, per the security guard at Target around 1 a.m., someone set fire to it and then exploded, and shrapnel made it almost to the doors. This is wild. It's got to stop. Again, I mean, look at this one. This is, these people are getting found. They are getting arrested, and good, and rightfully so. This is this is in Florida, a left-wing nut job, keyed a Tesla in Florida because of a bumper sticker. Look, y'all let me know. Tell me what you think. Do you think that this is just going to escalate further? Do you think we're going to see people end up dying over this crap? Because I do. It's only a matter of time before people start fighting back. People aren't going to just get beat up willy-nilly. Like I said, the woman who was physically assaulted, now taking a gun safety course. You don't think she's not going to get a gun? She is. Anyway.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
Good.
Stop.
So I'm guessing you probably know what this is about, right?
No.
No.
I just checked my truck to see if I hit anything.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm investigating a criminal. It's a criminal investigation. Okay. So before I ask you anything, I'm gonna read you your rights real quick. Okay, and then I'm gonna show you.
Fast forward through that a little bit.
So anything you don't want to answer, you don't have to. Okay. So I'm gonna show you a video real quick, and I'm just gonna see if it jogs
doesn't
your
even get to
memory
the
about what
video.
happened
Watch.
in Winn-Dixie on Sunday night.
Oh, is it Winn-Dixie to pick up some coffee and key lime pie? Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what you did when you walked out of Winn-Dixie?
Uh,
To the green Toyota Tundra? It was not raining.
okay. I don't recall.
And keep in mind, this isn't even a Tesla. The guy just saw a bumper sticker. I forgot about that little detail. But it wasn't even a Tesla. It was a Toyota Tundra pickup. But the guy just saw the bumper sticker. Just watch what he says. It's beyond me. This is an older guy. And because his feelings were hurt, he chose to vandalize a vehicle. This is wild. I see bumper stickers all the time for people who support left-wing politicians, Democrats, what have you. I don't get upset to the point where I feel like I have to destroy personal property. This guy's older. Do people just not have self-control anymore? Maybe that should be the question of the day. What happened to people's self-control? Where did it go? We just don't use it anymore. Our feelings override everything else. It's ridiculous. Because the guy got infuriated, I think is the word he used. But check it out. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, I thought it was raining, but
Okay. The green Toyota Tundra pickup truck that you walked up to? You don't remember what you did?
I walked by a truck. Yeah,
Okay. What did you do to it?
I scratched it.
Of course
Why?
he did.
Was it
Why?
the bumper sticker? Because they've got a ton of security footage there,
Yeah.
man.
Okay, so
So I see you walking behind it, and you look over at it, and she's got a sticker that says "Let's go, Brandon" or something.
Yeah. I guess it infuriated me.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that it? That's the only reason you did it? You don't know who owns the truck or anything?
Yeah, that's the only reason I did it.
Okay. So
Again, the only reason that he did this, destroyed personal property or damaged personal property, whatever you want to say, just because he was infuriated, because his feelings were hurt. He didn't like the bumper sticker. Again, I see bumper stickers all the time. people supporting Democrats, left-wing talking points. I don't let my feelings take over. I say, yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't think that person's very intelligent. But hey, I have a right to say it. I do not have a right to go and physically destroy or damage personal property. When, again, I'll say it one more time. When did our feelings overtake everything else?
Oh, you went on the I could see you go on the passenger side, and you left a big scrape on that side, and then I saw you do a circle in the parking lot and come back to it, and then go to the.
That's the only side I did.
Okay, she's already got a few dents and stuff on it, but she somehow knew that those were new scratches, and I could see like something black in your left hand.
Yeah, I won't.
Was it a key
I
or
did it.
was it a key?
No, it's my key fob. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have that with you? It's in the truck.
Yeah.
Do you have your ID with you as well?
And that's it. That they ended. He starts to follow him to his truck to get the paperwork and whatnot, and that's it. But like I said, I mean, it's wild. When is this stuff going to stop? It's got to end. Democrats got to come out and condemn this kind of crap, because it's only going to escalate. People are going to end up hurt or worse. This guy, just because his feelings were hurt, he was enraged, as he says. At least I'll give the guy credit. At least he has personal responsibility. He owned up to it. I'll give him credit where credit's due. But when is this going to end? It's not ending. It's escalating. It's getting worse. But we'll move on to one more thing here, and this is part of Trump's new thing that he's got going on. This is from the Post Millennial. Trump admin moves to fine illegal immigrants $998 per day if they don't self-deport. My question for this story is, how are they going to enforce that? Especially if they actually deport the person. How are they going to recoup that money that they're supposedly being fined for? That's the question I have. I'd imagine that they're probably going to seize some personal assets in order to try and make up some of the money in the fines. I don't know. I don't know exactly how this is going to work. They talk about in the article about the CPA app or CPP app, whatever it's called, for self-deportation. And again, I've said it before, self-deport. That gives yourself a chance to re-enter the country legally. Again, I digress. But anyway, take a look at this. From the Post Millennial again. The Trump administration is planning to fine illegal immigrants who don't self-deport from the U.S. just under $1,000 per day that they remain in the country. Again, maybe it's just a deterrent. Maybe it's saying, hey, look, get out of the country or else. Maybe. I guess that's the only thing I could take from this. But anyway, Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin told Fox News illegal aliens should use the CBP Home app to self-deport and leave the country now. If they don't, they will face consequences. This includes a fine of $998 per day for every day that the illegal alien overstayed their final deportation order. Again, how are you going to recoup that money? If you find somebody and then you just deport them anyway, how are you going to? I don't understand it. Somebody let me know how, make it make sense. I don't know how they, other than seizing assets or personal property that they may have, I don't know. A senior Trump official told Reuters that the administration plans to use a 1996 law to apply retroactive penalties on illegal immigrants for up to 5 years, which could result in fines over $1 million. The outlet, which received reviewed government emails, said that the administration is also considering seizing the property of legal immigrants who do not pay the fines. Well, there you go. I don't think that, maybe, depending on what the property is that they seize, maybe a nice pickup truck or vehicle or something. Maybe they can get the money that way by selling it. I guess. Anyway, Trump first used the law under his first term to levy hundreds of thousands of dollars against 9 migrants, though the administration withdrew the penalties and instead imposed fines of around $60,000 per person against at least 4 of the migrants. Joe Biden ceased issuing the fines when he took office. Of course he did. A flyer obtained by Fox News outlined the benefits and consequences of self-deporting, including massive fines. Self-deportation is safe. Leave on your own terms by picking your flight departure flight, the flyer stated. I don't see why you wouldn't. Honestly, if you're here illegally, self-deport and then try to come back into the country legally. Again, I'll say this one more time. It's on the low end. The low end. It's about $150 billion per year that illegal immigration costs the U.S. taxpayers every single year. On the low end, it's $150 billion. On the high end, I've seen close to $400 billion. But the low end is $150 billion per year. I've covered that before. Those who self-deport would receive the benefit of being able to keep the money they earned in America, being able to have future eligibility for legal immigration, and possibly subsidized flights as if they cannot afford it. There you go. Get yourself a free flight. Go back home. Try to come back in legally if you want to be here. I am of the opinion that if you want to be in the United States, that you need to adapt to the culture of the United States. I don't have a problem with people coming into the United States and embracing the United States culture while still being able to be proud of where you came from. I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is people who come in here and don't embrace the United States culture and still hold on to the culture of the country that they were fleeing. It doesn't make sense to me. Proud Mexicans, proud Guatemalans, what have you. If it was such a great country, then why'd you come to the United States? Why? I think it's for the free benefits that they get when they get here because of Biden's policies. But I digress. Those who fail to self-deport will be apprehended by DHS with no opportunity to get your affairs in order beforehand and could face the $998 per day fine, as well as a fine of $1,000 to $5,000 for failing to self-deport after claiming that you will. There you go. Again, recouping the fines, I don't know. I don't know how they would do that unless they seizing the property, I guess. But unless it's a really nice vehicle or something, I don't see how you would get the money out of it. A TV, maybe you could sell for $100 or $2, but it's not going to amount to the fine. That part doesn't make sense to me. What does make sense to me is the fact that, look, if you want to self-deport, good on you. Go ahead and self-deport. That way, if you want to come back into the country, you can try to do it legally. And, you have a chance to come back in. Plus, if you self-deport, any money that you might have at the time, you get to keep. So I don't see the downfall of self-deporting. Like I said, you can apply to come in here legally, and you get to keep the money you've earned. So just do that. Anyway, that's all I got for now. If you stayed this long through all my ramblings, I really appreciate it. Again, you can follow me here on Rumble. I'm live 7:30 every morning, Monday through Friday, just ahead of the Rumble lineup. I appreciate you being here if you stayed this long. I really do. But you can also follow me on X at The Political Ray, and you can subscribe to me on YouTube, but I don't know why you would do that. Just be on Rumble. Rumble's where it's at. But anyway, that's all I got for now. Appreciate everybody hanging out, and I hope everybody has a great day. And God bless. Take care of each other.